Sweet. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Bryan Alonso. I'm the Open 90 manager for Resolve Marine Group. We're an international marine salver with multiple locations throughout the world. But what we're going to talk about today is the Open 90 regulations and how that applies to you guys in this room. So like I said, a little bit about us. International company, offices all over. One of the key things is we're not only compliancy for OPA, but we also carry other compliancy services as well that some of you probably use. And we'll go into some of that right here. So what are our core services that we have there? Salvage being our main core service and emergency response in regards to towing assets. Then we also have the compliancy portion, which is the OPA 90, the APC coverage for Alaska, and then the SPRO coverage we carry in China. And then we also do marine services as well as safety training. I know most salvers, we're not supposed to train, because everyone thinks we're just waiting for the next big incident to happen, but we actually try and prevent the incident to happen as well. So underneath the coast-to-coast compliancy services, as you can see there, we basically are trying to make a coast-to-coast coverage, whether it be Open 90, the APC coverage in Western Alaska, and then the China SPRO service. The reason why we got into the APC coverage and the SPRO service was basically necessity from the clients asking us. For us, it's all about the client's needs and how we can help them out. So that's how we first got into China SPRO about 6 years ago now. And then we started getting into Western Alaska after we set up a response posture in Dutch Harbor, Alaska, where we have an operation there. So our principal locations throughout the U.S., as you can see there, there's plenty of locations, but the ones in orange are the actual offices and warehouses. And then the ones you see in blue are the Open 90 depots that actually adhere to the timeframes needed to meet the 19 criteria under the Smff regulations. Now, what's in some of those depots? It's flyaway packages, strategically located locations that we set up. The firefighting portion, we stage 24 depots throughout the U.S., including marine firefighting as well as lightering packages. The lightering packages go from anywhere from 60 cubics per hour to 330 cubics per hour. We can augment that too with Framo equipment, since most of the tankers have Framo equipment on board, so we can just hook in with Framo pumps or MPC pumps, KMA 333s, you name it. We pretty much have a lightering pump for whatever need, even chemical. And then when it comes to the firefighting portion, we're looking at fire pumps ranging from 2,000 gallons per minute up to 6,000 gallons per minute. Firefighting for the 19 criteria is a big portion because the time frames on meeting some of those portions. Like let's say, for instance, a pier side location, you have to have 4 hours to have that equipment on scene. And through the depots is how we manage that. So looking into those 19 criteria, I know we've seen it already today, but you start, like you said, with the remote assessment and consultation. When the VRP system or your plan gets activated, or even before it gets activated, the best thing to do is a remote assessment. Sometimes there's stigmatism over calling us. You're not going to get charged as soon as we start just asking some simple questions to get some feedback back and forth, so we can start understanding the situation and the casualty you guys have going on. So that's the first initial phase, and then you're going to start looking into your beginning assessments of the structural stability, maybe an on-site assessor going on, hull and bottom surveys, going into emergency towing. That's a big asset right there. Salvage plans, as they develop, it's a progressive thing. You start with the simple one, but leading into every point of scenario that's going to take place during that salvage incident. And then going into the portions of the marine firefighting, like I said, this is a stringent one just due to the time frame requirements that you have to meet. And that's something that we pride ourselves on doing because we've spent a lot of resources and time to invest to make sure we can meet the time frames. So I'm going to focus a little bit more on the specific scenario location. So right here we have a map of where the incident is going to take place. And then we're going to look at our resolve assets that are in the area to respond to meet the 19 criteria that we're talking about. Obviously, in Houston area, we've got a good amount of resources looking at the lightering systems, the fire teams and assessments, dive companies in the area that we, if not our own, that we have subcontract agreements with. That's one of the things you have to have agreements in place to list them underneath your geographic specific appendix. And then from Houston, we can also resource from our New Orleans or Mobile facilities for the Gulf scenarios. Each one of them designated for a specific task at hand, depending on what we're looking at doing. And then another portion, a big one actually on this, is your towing assets. What do you have available for towing? Because most of the times, every salvage project, crucial port is the towing, whether it's during or after the scenario. So right there you can see it's an AIS footprint that we have showing the tugs, and these are not every tug in the area. These are tugs that we have contracts already prearranged with to respond on medium notice. So we're not looking to negotiate rates or go back and forth. These are available immediately for a response. Looking at some of those floating assets, internally in Resolve, we've got over 39 floating assets stationed throughout the world for immediate and fast response, going from the anchor handling tugs that we carry to also heavy lift assets, which is a big portion. Like we were talking about, the response network. So this is how we generally make most of the time frames. We can't have an office everywhere. We'd love to, but the way we do it is through contract agreements, through different resource partners. We've done it OPA-wise, but we've also done it globally as well. So no matter what training patterns you are taking, we have someone at least in a reasonable amount of distance to get there and get on scene and adhere to the issues. So just I wanted to show an overlay of some recent case studies that we've done throughout globally. As you can see there on the map, most of the jobs, we have similar some, in US, but a lot of our bigger majority of wreck removals and things of that nature actually take outside of the US continent. But one thing to look at here is the global footprint of where we're at with these projects, because most of these projects, they either go on for short-term or long-term, meaning long-term, some of them were about 2.5 years for one project alone, but it could be generally a weekend project too. So just so some contact info, we'll provide this, I guess, later in the scenarios. We have our 24/7 number and our 24/7 email address that you can always send queries to or incident-based scenario questions for us if it's OPA needs. And then we also have the regional offices contact details for you. We also have a newer thing, it's an app. So you actually know who you're talking to when you do call. If you call through the app, you can see actually a picture of who you're talking to, which is great. We actually did this also another reason. Clients wanted to see it, specifically some of the agents and insurance underwriters. So that's the scenario as we play it out, and that's my presentation.